one, I couldn't figure out exactly how to review it at first without giving away what anything about the episode to people who haven't seen it. And I know I've gone light on the spoilers before, and I know these reviews carry a spoiler warning, even though I've done that. But this one, if it's going to be enjoyed, I don't think you can come into it with spoilers. It was advertised as completely the opposite of what it actually was, and that was brilliant because me and my whole family, we got to see it fresh. And and what's more, it took me a while to figure out what score I was going to give it, because humor is subjective, and this is a humor episode. If you don't like the way X-Files does humor, then you're not going to like this episode. However, I have to think David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are just brilliant when they do these comedy episodes. There was one episode, I think in season 5 or 6, with vampires, where it was showing us, where the episode did a sort of Rashomon thing, where it was showing it from each of their viewpoints, and that was just brilliant. And it's odd, when I first heard the X-Files come back for 6 episodes, I assumed that it was going to be a tight, focused mini-series, sort of like when 24 came back on Fox a couple of years ago for Live Another Day. But instead, they seem to have just made it a short sample of what the X-Files is, and it represents everything the X-Files is, both good and bad so far. And this is representing the comedy episodes, and it is great. If you don't mind us taking a break from the plot arc, it is great. And it does have some character moments that address something, like, for instance, it starts out with Mulder being depressed because he's discovered the internet and that they pretty much debunked everything he's done. It actually addresses that fact, that most of what the X-Files went on about that was seen as daring in the 90s has been debunked since then. And it actually helps because it shows that Mulder is willing to be wrong. So many characters on TV are just arrogant. When they get into Mulder's mindset and it's them against the world, they're just arrogant. They say, oh, well, what you believe is silly, but what I believe is right, is super serious because it's true. Whereas Mulder's willing to look at the evidence and be wrong. He's not like the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where he's standing out on high and pronouncing judgment, and that's what makes him so good. And before you flame me for saying this, just be aware I'm saying that the style of this episode feels like it's made by a fan. Not by the man himself, but by a fan of the work of Douglas Adams, who kind of got that sort of snarky, sort of social commentary angle he went for in all his work. And it has that sort of feeling, has that sort of feel of how Douglas Adams would approach basic human behavior as an outsider, and just say, well, how silly would these things that we all do every day? And again, with Douglas Adams, one of the reasons that his comedy worked, as opposed to something like Seth MacFarlane, even though they're both kind of political and full of social statements, is that Douglas Adams, I never got the feeling of judgment from his comedy. Like, again, the same thing going on with Mulder in this episode. I never got the feeling that Douglas Adams was sitting there saying, I'm better than you, and I'm gonna show you just how stupid you are. See, look at those stupid people who are so inferior to me. That was never what I got. What I got from Douglas Adams was, look, we're all human. We're all fallible. Look, we can look. And we'll be better off if we just have a laugh at it, rather than letting it stress us out and cause us to blow our brains out. And that's what this episode was. And I saw it with my whole family, and they all loved it. Every joke landed. Every joke got a laugh. One word of warning: a lot of times on TV nowadays, when they give you the rating about sex and dialogue in the TV-14 category, I blink and I miss it, and I'm like, where was the sex, or where was the suggestive dialogue? So far in this series, if that has the warning on the episode, it's in there. So just be aware of that. Although here, of course, it was used for comedic purposes. So, but yeah, every joke I watched it with myself, my youngest brother, my sister, and my mother, and every joke landed for us. Had some great performances. I'm pretty sure that when we're done with all 6 episodes, we'll find that this is David Duchovny's best performance, because he was just so relaxed and just in the groove right there as Mulder, and he and Gillian Anderson, they were both great, but the majority of the screen time was taken by him. So it was because it was his character. Because it's interesting that it's a great comedy episode, but it's also a great character piece, and it sort of gives Mulder some momentum to go forward in the rest of the series. And yes, humor is subjective, so take that into this. But my final rating is 10 out of 10.